After years of anticipation, the final entry in the Skywalker story is here. And so are the legions of Star Wars fans ready to criticize it. Whether you loved, hated, or simply enjoyed the final entry in the modern-day trilogy, no movie is perfect, and there are certainly some things that probably should have been different. From minimized characters to just straight-up missing characters, and some disappointing swerves, some of these elements shouldn't have even made it past the scripting stage. Never mind put into the final film. Before we dive deep into this Sarlacc pit, we have to warn you, there will be major spoilers for the Rise of Skywalker in this video. So you've been warned. The first Rise of Skywalker trailers had the whole internet buzzing. The voice, the cackle. Could it be? Yep, the Emperor is back.
The Emperor's coming here?
As soon as the trailer hit the internet, we all couldn't help but theorize about his big return. Would we see flashbacks to Return of the Jedi? Would Kylo Ren be the one to resurrect him? Is that Darth Vader helmet the key to it all? Turns out, none of that matters. The Emperor's big return all occurred within the opening text of The Rise of Skywalker. We don't get to see character reactions, fill in the blanks on his history, or showcase who or what even attached his body to that giant zombie machine keeping him alive all this time. The Emperor kind of is what it is, with not much backstory given. Why did he choose now to appear? Why didn't he try to influence Rey before she became so powerful? Couldn't he have built up her powers under the Sith training instead? We don't want the story to drag on or anything, but inserting his return into the opening text kind of felt like a cheap way to connect the films and get the movie rolling. The Disney trilogy of Skywalker movies was all about introducing new franchise characters and passing the torch. This is why classic relics like C-3PO and R2-D2 kind of took a backseat to newer droids like BB-8. So it was only fitting and poignant that C-3PO would sacrifice his whole memory to translate a Sith message and help locate the Emperor. The touching moment would have reflected on the great journey C-3PO had and been an ideal way to have the character's spirit perish while still keeping the droid himself alive. But in one of the biggest moves of fan service, turns out the big sacrifice wasn't a huge decision at all. R2-D2 had a backup of C-3PO's memory and everything turned out okay. After giving us the fake Chewbacca explosion earlier in the film, this second swerve was a bit much and tied up way too nicely with a little bow. It would have been more emotional to have C-3PO be a major hero in the story and actually have consequences for his sacrifice. At least R2-D2 was the one to restore his memories. It would have been just a bit much to give Rey Force memory restoration powers as well. One of the great moments in The Rise of Skywalker is when Rey gets all inspired by all the Force voices of the past, encouraging her to fight the good battle against her evil grandpappy. The moment not only helped to tie into the Skywalker saga, but multiple Star Wars shows and movies. If only we had some visuals to go with all those voices. Force Ghost appearances of each voice would have made the scene even more epic. Rey already gets visited by the Force Ghost of Luke in the film. Why not create the others? The whole Force Ghost thing was a huge part of the Return of the Jedi final scenes and would have been another great nod to the original trilogy. Imagine seeing all of those fallen Jedi gathered together, all just to inspire Rey. We would still be talking about that scene. And just imagine all the inspirational memes that could have come from those screenshots. Admittedly, capturing each actor for the performance probably would have taken some time, but this is Star Wars we're talking about here, not some mid-budget indie comedy. There's no denying that The Rise of Skywalker was packed with plot points, details, and story arcs that it had to connect. Unfortunately, this meant that some characters were pretty limited on screen. One of them? Rose Tico. First introduced in The Last Jedi, Rose was an integral part of the plot, stuck by Finn's side for the majority of the movie, and was a fun new character for the trilogy. So what was she up to in The Rise of Skywalker? Well, she mostly stood around and provided a few lines about the plot that almost any background character could have delivered. Yeah, The Rise of Skywalker did a major disservice to Rose. Rose was one of the most irrelevant characters in the movie, absent for most of it, and pretty much had nothing to do. Surely there could have been something else for her to do. Tag along with Lando, get involved in her own little struggle. After setting up the character in a big way during The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker might as well have just written her completely out. For actress Kelly Marie Tran, the role was probably a little defeating as well. She dealt with a lot of bullying and harassment after The Last Jedi, and now the minimized role of her character only makes us feel like the bullies have won, which is just not cool. Another role kind of messed up in the movie, Leia's. While the Jedi training flashback with Luke was a great homage, and helped explain her space-flying escapades in The Last Jedi, the Rise of Skywalker was extremely limited with what they could do after the tragic passing of Carrie Fisher. While some of the early stuff with Rey works, the film definitely tries to shoehorn scenes with Leia into the movie. She should have probably just been removed from the film entirely, or could have been more involved in the plot with Palpatine. She could have gone missing or been captured to help explain the limited screen role. While captured, her desperation to reach her son would have taken all the strength and willpower she needed to reach the same conclusion that she did. Saving Ben from the dark side was the ultimate sacrifice, but the setup to get there didn't have to feel so forced. Either way, the filmmakers were put into a tough spot. Removing her from the film completely would have been a tough decision and not the best way to honor the actress for her dedication to the iconic role. Here's a quick reminder to movie fans to subscribe to ScreenRant and click the little bell thingy if you don't mind. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications. Using your phone, you can turn on notifications through YouTube settings. We all know how stubborn YouTube can be. Did you know that Finn has a secret? It's not that he's secretly in love with Rey, or that he kissed Rose, or that he got Rose pregnant. Finn's big secret, teased throughout the whole Rise of Skywalker movie, he's a sensitive guy. But not just any sensitive guy, a Force-sensitive guy. And how do we know this besides him telling us? Because of the countless shots of Finn looking out towards nothing and going, Rey? 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 Yeah, there were a lot of reaction shots of people who saw things that we couldn't. But that's not even our main issue here. There's nothing wrong with Finn having Force sensitivity. A few little hints dispersed earlier in the trilogy would have certainly helped the story make some sense though. And there's no way that the Force sensitivity should have been the only reason Finn decided to abandon his role as a stormtrooper. Not everything in the Star Wars universe needs to be guided by the Force. Finn could have just had some good old-fashioned morals that caused him to defect. Plus, maybe there's some deleted scenes or something, but Finn and Rey should have gotten to talk about these feelings, and maybe some other feelings we'll get to here in a little bit. The Knights of Ren were ready to make their big debut in The Rise of Skywalker, and boy were they teased. We saw shot after shot of the Knights of Ren before they all finally confronted Ben Solo. Well, one Force delivery of a lightsaber later and the Knights of Ren were dispatched like yesterday's garbage. Much like the elite Praetorian Guard, the Knights of Ren were nothing for a lightsaber-wielding character, and easily defeated. So basically, other than a color palette change to red, or in this case black, the superior warriors we are seeing in these movies are pretty much just as disposable as any of the stormtroopers. If you want us to fear the Knights of Ren and their big confrontation with Ben Solo, then give us a reason to. Actually have the Knights behead Chewbacca. Tear BB-8 to pieces. Make us fear the characters instead of showing some menacing shots before watching them all tumble like Super Mario easily dispatching a row of Goombas. It's like the designs of all these characters were simply made for new toys rather than actually serving a purpose for the plot. Oh wait, never mind. And now back to Finn and Rey. If you loaded up The Force Awakens before seeing The Rise of Skywalker, then you would see how much angst and effort the film put into the couple and the potential connection that they had. Then the two were split up for the majority of The Last Jedi as the heated chemistry between Rey and Kylo began to build. And with J.J. Abrams in the director's chair once again, we saw much more of the chemistry between Rey and Finn. But was it only Force chemistry? We'll never know. While Rey and Ben were the ones to share the kiss, Finn only got a hug at the end. A big old group hug with Poe involved as well. Even if their connection was just platonic, why didn't Rey and Finn get one more scene alone together? They didn't need to spell stuff out, a look, a solo hug, anything. They kinda just ditched the pair. Besides Palpatine, another major teaser from the Rise of Skywalker trailers was a look at evil Rey. She had dual-bladed lightsabers and a Sith hood. Well, it turns out that the shot in the trailer was just a big swerve. And not actually Rey at all. It was all just a vision. A vision that Rey actually had a lightsaber battle with. So was this vision a physical representation of Rey's internal battle to fight out the Sith blood coursing through her veins? Who knows? The only thing we do know is that these teasers ended up being huge letdowns when the evil Rey was actually not a real thing at all. The evil Rey thing could have gone so many ways. Maybe Palpatine wanted to get close to Rey, take some of her DNA, and clone his granddaughter so that he could groom her into a Sith Lord. Or maybe Palpatine could have somehow manifested his soul into Rey's body and turned her evil. We're just kinda spitballing here. Anything would have been better than the equivalent of a dream sequence that actually adds nothing to the plot or characters, other than designing yet another cool looking lightsaber. Once again, looks like a marketing ploy for more products. We're on to you, Disney. No matter how much the film felt like fan service, it was still pretty cool to see so many callbacks to the original trilogy in The Rise of Skywalker. Unfortunately, there was one glaring omission in the whole Disney trilogy of Star Wars films.
Maybe.
ObiWan Kenobi. Yes, we got about 2 seconds of his voice for the Force Voices montage, but that's all. The new trilogy of films brought back basically everyone. Heck, we even got Yoda in The Last Jedi. We even got Han Solo back one more time for The Rise of Skywalker. So much of the movie tied around the Skywalker legacy, but Obi-Wan Kenobi is a huge part of that legacy. He trained Anakin, trained Luke, and his Force Ghost was a huge influence through the original trilogy. Why couldn't they get Ewan McGregor to come on for a cameo role? He's already committed to an Obi-Wan series.
Hello there.
The absence of Obi-Wan feels like a major omission. Even if he's not a Skywalker by blood, he's one of the most important Jedi in the whole franchise and could have shared a great scene with Rey or even been the one to explain Force sensitivity to Finn. The first 6 Star Wars movies in the Skywalker saga are all about Obi-Wan, and the final 3 barely gave him a shout out. What a missed opportunity.
That isn't very reassuring.
And if you're really enjoying listening to us talk about Star Wars, maybe you'd really enjoy watching some Star Wars. And luckily, you can do that on Disney+. Disney+ is the streaming platform that has all different kinds of content, including stuff from Star Wars, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and more. You can jump over there right now and check out the hit show The Mandalorian by clicking the link down in the description below to get a free trial. What are you waiting for? Check out Disney Plus today. Even with some of these glaring problems, there was plenty to enjoy in The Rise of Skywalker. So now it's your turn to chime in. What was your favorite moment? What do you wish they had done differently? Should C-3PO have kept his memory loss? Well, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to ScreenRant for more great content.